channel. This is the very first episode of Careers 101 with Baratang, and today I have a very, very special guest for our pilot episode, 24-year-old Ellah Mahopa, who was born in Zimbabwe, raised in South Africa, and is now pursuing her dream life all over the world. She is literally traveling for a living. And we are about to tap into that. Ellah Mahopa works on a cruise ship. This is a career that not a lot of people know of. She is here to tell us all about that. Welcome to my channel.
Thank you.
Are you excited to be here?
I am excited.
So tell us more about the cruise ship industry. So how long have you been working in this industry?
So I've been working for 3 years now, working on board for 3 years, and it's been a journey.
And how many cruise ships have you worked for? Because I know that there are different companies, different cruise ships, they have different destinations. So how many cruise ships have you worked on in the past 3 years?
I've worked on 3 cruise ships for the one company that I was with. So they've got a lot of different cruise ships, but I've worked for 3 of theirs.
Oh, okay. So it's like an umbrella, and they have these
the sub ships, the little ones that are, exactly.
Oh, okay. And just to get people excited, how many countries have you visited?
So I've been to close to 33 countries now. The ones that I remember and took pictures of, 33.
33 countries. 33 countries. And she's just doing her job. Like, that is her job, to travel from country to country. That just sounds like a dream lifestyle to me. I mean, everybody dreams of traveling, and you get to do that while being employed. You know, a lot of people have to save up and make plans and all of this to visit these different countries.
That's true.
And you just go to work and
wake up in a different country. Exactly.
Is there a particular country or that made you realize that, oh my gosh, like, this is the dream job, and this is a job that I've always dreamt of having?
Yeah, I think so. I think also because they really differ. Some of the countries I didn't even know of their existence, and only until you get there, you just like, oh my gosh, I think this is my favorite. Until you find out that tomorrow you're going somewhere else, and you've never been there again, you're like, okay, you know what, scratch yesterday. This is even better than the day before yesterday. But I think definitely some of the ones that stand out really well have to be Iceland. That was really, really nice. Also, visiting Russia was very, very nice. And just some small little fjords in Norway. Those were very, very different. I mean, it's high class living for them that side. And I didn't even know of all those places in Norway. So I think those would be probably my main top 3 so far.
And this career has definitely opened your mind to the entire world.
Yeah.
Has it changed your perspective in any way of how you now view the world?
Absolutely. I think especially when it comes to academics, I think it has definitely broadened my mind in terms of, like, there are so many things that people can do out there, and there's so much of the world that we still need to see. And especially coming from a generation whereby our parents viewed so much, and some parents, not mine necessarily, view that you have to go to varsity for you to be able to achieve certain things, and you have to get certain grades. And not that you don't need to pass for you to be able to work abroad, but it has definitely made me more neutral and seen that there are so many things that people do, and they are literally living their best lives as long as they have the right connections and they make the correct steps into going into their future. So yeah.
And that's definitely something we would like to achieve as a channel, to abolish all these ideologies that people have in place regarding what success really means and which steps are taken in order to achieve that success.
Yes, absolutely.
But like you said, education is a very important key to a lot of things, and I know that that is where it started for you. So you went to Waverley Girls High School.
Yeah.
And when you were doing your matric year, where was your mindset at the time?
I think I always say that high school was the worst time of my life. First of all, I never got to like do the serious dating like everybody else did. Because I think boys actually thought I looked like boys, first of all. So I never got the opportunity to do that. But then also, I think I really struggled a lot because I was surrounded by my friends that did very, very well in high school. So you can imagine if your friends are going off to be doctors, they're going off to be doing all this great stuff in the financial world, and then you are just there trying to squeeze in. I remember at some point, I think not so long ago, I was actually looking at my UJ admission forms. I remember applying at UJ. Vits I didn't even try because they were not even gonna like. So I remember looking at some of my UJ application forms, and they offered me to do like I think it was probably a diploma or a degree in finances, but then they said that I had to supplement an extra year just to make sure that my accounting would be great. And I was really struggling because it was just such a mission. Even when I went to go write my NBTs, it was such a hectic mission. I don't think I did well at all. I never even looked back to check at my NBTs. So it was really a confusing stage, which made me end up doing taking a gap year afterwards, because I wasn't sure about what I was supposed to do. And I just knew that I knew how to do hair. I was good at beauty, but that's kind of all that I knew. There was nothing else. Like, okay, I'm like, okay, am I just going to be an ordinary hairstylist working, I don't know, somewhere else in someone else's salon? That wasn't really the vision that I wanted, but I knew I wanted something that would be really great.
After going through the elimination process of all the things that you could do or what your matric marks allowed you to do, how did you reach the conclusion of then submitting an application into a beauty school?
I think I remember a friend of mine, one of my very close friends, Lisa. She told me, she was just like, Ellah, you need to stop like applying and wanting to be all like these friends of yours. You've got these skills that you have in your hand. Why don't you do that and focus on that? And you know, honestly, I think 6 years ago from now on, if somebody told me that this is where I would be right now, oh my gosh, I could like give the hand guides to success to every young child that I meet. And I think that's when I knew, you know what, I know how to do hair. Why don't I just find a beauty school? But then when I find a beauty school, I need to find something that's really good. So I just can't settle for another beauty school downtown, not because it's bad, but because what the vision that I had for myself had to be greater than that. So I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do beauty school, it truly has to be the best one that I'm going to find. And this is how I ended up applying for where I went to school. So I found the best one. I remember when I applied, my dad was like, but this is a white people's school. How are you going to plait people's hair with white people knowledge? And I'm like, but that's what I want, to break the norm and to see what are they doing so right within their communities that we can also put within our communities. So that's kind of how I went about it.
And so after now after applying and being accepted into the beauty school, doing your first year, second year, and eventually graduating, how did your journey into working on a cruise ship start?
So I remember when I was in my first year, there's this super pretty lady that walked into the school, and she looked so amazing, and I'm like, what does she do? Excuse me. And then that's when I found out that she's actually a recruiter for working on board, and I had never heard of this before. It's like that feeling that you have when you find out something new. It's you purely walking with a pure mind. And I was just like, she's like, do you know you can get paid for what you do whilst you're traveling and working on ships? But when she came to give us the talk, it was actually for the second years. It wasn't for the first years. But because I'm like, I'm gonna squeeze myself into the situation, then I went for the talk. And I remember from that day in my first year, the whole second year I was telling my teacher, ma'am, I need to go to work on ships. And she's like, well, you need to work hard. I actually have one of my girls that work there. And I mean, it was just something that I vowed myself, even if I didn't want to get up in the morning. I'm like, girl, you need to go work on ships, so you need to get up every morning. And I mean, imagine taking a young girl, telling them that you can get paid for traveling to go and going to sit on a beach in the United States. It's like the dream life for everybody, surely. So I think there was always a motivation behind me now starting, looking for more information, working really hard for me to be able to qualify to go work on board.
And I've noticed that as people, we know of certain things, like everybody knows that there is a thing called a cruise ship, and this is what happens on a cruise ship. But people never actually think of the job creations and the career part of these businesses. And why do you think that is? Like, how did you only find out in your first year of tertiary education that there is something called working on a cruise ship and doing exactly what you studied for, but in that sort of platform?
I think I had this conversation not so long ago with a friend of mine, and I was saying that we need to look at people that are doing right and come from a place of privilege, and find ways of us implementing that within our own communities, because we speak so much of privileges within different races and all of that, but then how about we change our outlook on that and just think, wait, what are these people doing right, and how can we apply those skills that they do, those people that are code smart, how can we take whatever they do and take their concepts of life and apply them within our own communities, which is particularly the Black community, and allowing ourselves to be more exposed to these opportunities, allowing ourselves to normalize that, hey, even if you are a carpet cleaner, your child can tell your mom, I want to be a hip hop singer or I want to be a rapper. Find ways of encouraging that gift that a person has, because you never know where they can be tomorrow. But then, of course, I would always encourage people to do things the right way if you're going to do it. Don't then just hit the streets and do it. But then also, you can find ways of connecting yourself to the right people. And sometimes it's honestly about making yourself available and finding the correct networks. Like, if I want to do this, find the people that are doing it the correct way and ask them, how did you go about it? What can I do to make sure that I'm doing this in its PhD form, no matter how little it might be seen? Because let's talk about, even if we mentioned that how people were domestic workers back in the days and stuff, but then now you have people that have cleaning companies, so then it has been upgraded to something whereby you can do it professionally, you can get paid for it nicely, and so it's all about taking what we take as underpaying jobs and viewing it in a way that how can this improve our communities. So I think it's all about mindset and people just changing that.
Definitely. And so now that also speaks to artists, to anyone with a skill, that because in the beauty industry, a lot of people are under the impression that it's so saturated, and going into it will just mean that you're unemployed, and you don't actually look at the possibilities and the many opportunities that happen beyond what we see. Because what we see right now is you go to beauty school, then you probably work for someone's salon, and that is just what there's just not enough information, especially for our race, as to what can you do with the skill that you've acquired. And I'm so glad that you're here to tell everyone about it.
I also think sharing information is very important, and having platforms like this, because one thing I've also realized within even our communities, people learn how to do things, but nobody ever wants to share for the growth of somebody else. Everybody is like, okay, I figured it out for myself, therefore I'm kind of going to keep it to myself, or you suddenly become distant and only want to focus. And that's where the whole ladder method comes up, whereby if you're going to take one step up the ladder, don't forget to reach out for the person who's below you and pull them up too. So then it helps us to strengthen our communities, and at some point we are all at the same level because we are growing together. So I think that's something that's very important, because sometimes you can research and everything, but then you just can't find the information that you want. But when somebody is able to share with you the information, and you are able to have platforms like this where people obtain knowledge, they're like, oh my gosh, if someone else is able to do this, then definitely I can. So it's also, as much as we are able to reach out and reach for our goals, but it's also nice to have somebody that tells you, hey, I've done this, let me help you through the same process that I've been through, so we can both be successful.
I really wish everyone had that sort of mindset and was willing to do that to help everyone else. So going back to working on a cruise ship, what was your day-to-day life?
Okay, so day-to-day life, I think first days it's a bit difficult, because you are stepping into an environment where people know already. It's like having this humongous world or hotel, but that just moves on water. So everything is on board. I mean, from food, walking into buffets that are already made. So if you are a person that enjoys chow chow, you're probably gonna gain a bit of pounds. But then it's really nice because everybody is kind of there to take care of each other because you all know you are far away from home. So the only best thing is to create your own home within each other. But then the other interesting thing is also just learning how to live with different cultures, learning to live with different beliefs, because that's definitely something that's out there, and just learning to speak when necessary, just to avoid a lot of conflicts, because you're working with people that come from everywhere in the world. Sometimes we have over 100 nationalities on board that you're working with, so it really can be quite a lot, and it's a lot of adjusting. But as soon as you get the swing of it, now I'm in my 3rd year, I'm just like, hey, let's roll with it. Just roll with the punches, learn to adapt. With every new contract, I'm always like, I don't want any drama this contract. I'm not gonna be close friends with anybody. I'm just gonna eat, work, pray, and go to sleep. But eventually you have to have relationships with people, but it's all about learning yourself and learning with how to adapt with different people around you. But yeah.
So on the cruise ship, you had 2 jobs. You're on your 2nd job now. Can you describe what you were doing in your first job and what you're currently doing now?
So when I first went on board, I was a qualified hairdresser and a qualified barber. So that's what I did on board quite a lot. And I think it was a really good job at that point for the mental state that I was in. But eventually, I honestly got tired mentally and physically also. And I just felt like, well, this is just for me. Some other people do it for over 10 years. For me, I just felt like I was now losing that passion element I had about beauty. So I looked for something that would at least pay me more, but I would have more time off. So now that's when I was working in the spa. And then eventually I had just a good day one day, met the right person at the right time who was sitting in my chair getting their hair done. And she actually owned a franchise of a jewelry stores on board. And basically what they did is that they employ qualified gemologists, which is the person who studies jewelry, and basically you just help them sell expensive jewelry in their boutiques. And that is what I currently do now. And it honestly has been such an interesting journey, learning how to value things, holding things that are worth millions of dollars in your hand. You're like, God, I don't want to lose this, otherwise I'm gonna work my whole life to pay for this. So it's been very interesting and growing and getting different qualifications as you go up the ladder. Also not forgetting, beauty and hair will always be my first baby, but I think you get to a point in your life where you need to focus in your energy on the business that pays you the most. This is kind of the quote of it, to focus on what pays you the most. And eventually when you step into retirement, I think that's when you can start going into your own passions and stuff. But it works differently for other people. Some people find what they like passionately, it pays them well, they get a lot of free time at once. But for me, I kind of took that route, and you never know, things might still be changing. I still probably have a few more years that I'm going to work on board, and things might still be changing.
Okay, not revealing how much exactly you make, but considering the job that you do, the privileges that come with it, would you say that it's worth it financially?
Financially, it is absolutely worth it. I think you would just have to be a person who is strong in ambition, because a lot of people that struggle with being on board would probably be people that don't ever want to leave home. So I think that's what I would say people struggle with. But you're looking at, especially for the job that I do, well, from my own personal experience, you basically almost not paying for rent at all. You're not paying for food at all. You're not paying for accommodation. So it's like you're taking all your money. Exactly, you're taking all your money and you're going. And like what you talk about when we started off today, you just say that you get to travel to places whereby, if you're looking at the day-to-day life, now we just went through a pandemic as the whole world. If you are able to plan a trip, even to, let's say, go to Greece, you would have to save so much. You can only plan to squeeze in 2 trips if possible. If not, 1 trip maybe per year if you're with your spouse or something, to a really good place. But now we're talking about being at you can even be about 8 different countries in 2 weeks. So that's really the advantage of it. So I think it's something that's definitely worth it if you're looking into making money. And you're in a relationship whereby you're able to travel and your partner is really understanding, definitely. Or you're just a single woman or man who just wants to go out there and to seek for more, definitely. It's big thumbs up.
It just seems like the most, like I keep saying, a dream job for the youth.
Especially
for a very young person.
Absolutely.
traveling, not having any
Responsibilities.
not having any responsibilities,
Uh-huh.
yes. This would definitely be something to go into, I think. I definitely support this, and like, I'm always so excited and I ask you about the cruise ship life and everything. And what I also find interesting is that when you get to these different countries, you really have that freedom of exploring the country to your heart's contentment. Like there aren't any restrictions as to no, you're still at work. I mean, you're always posting pictures in your bikinis, going to these tourist destinations. You're just exploring the country right when you have that break in between your departures and arrivals. And wow, that's pretty amazing. Like, I'm so jealous.
I think it's good, but also when I get up, I always try and like make a schedule. Like, if I know that we are probably going to, I don't know, any place tomorrow, I just kind of check the itinerary, like, okay, this is where we're going. I need to plan this. This is the time I need to get off the ship. This is our coming back on board time. So I just always have to plan the times. But I think it's a fabulous experience, learning different cultures from different people, seeing how people out there live their lives. And also, it's a nice way to see that potentially in the future, if I ever have to want to move from South Africa and go out there, where would I want to live? Where would I want to travel to? And sometimes you might not necessarily have a lot of time on your off time to be able to explore a full country, and you only end up being in bits and pieces. But it also gives you a really nice idea of, oh my gosh, then maybe when I go back home on my vacation, I can expand more and maybe go spend a week more in this place, because I really enjoyed it when I was there. So, I mean, it honestly has been a blessing. I underrate myself most of the time, but I think it's been great.
Obviously, not everyone is into beauty or gemology or does not have that skill, but there are multiple careers that happen on a cruise ship. So I know there's the culinary side to it and the hospitality side to it. What other careers can you find on
people also do night auditing, so accountants are able to find jobs there.
Accountants
and engineers. Definitely. No matter what, engineers, plumbing, even people that do, what do you call this, trash disposal, there are jobs for that on board. Also, there's the guest services on board. It's basically like what we have here, and just putting it on a ship. So sometimes even when I'm walking through a mall and I see people like working in stores, I just want to take them and just like, come work on a ship. And literally, it's like you're walking into Fantasyland, and there are all these opportunities, but we have to share more of this information so people know, and these opportunities can also be given unto them. So yeah.
I know there's also like the navigators.
Oh yeah, it's very nice. I mean, I think especially people that work in other departments, they do make quite good money, and their off times are even better. And some of them only work about 3 months on the ship, 3 months off the ship. So it really just depends in terms of how long you can be on board for. It really varies from department to department. So I know I went with my first job, I was 9 months in and 2 months off. But then now I've changed jobs, it's 6 months in and maybe 2 months off also. So it really varies.
I guess that concludes the part to do with working on a cruise ship.
Yep.
But now, something very exciting has happened in Elah's life. During the lockdown, she discovered a new skill. She, you know how everybody during lockdown was either cooking or gardening or, all of She learned how to sew.
Yeah.
And that led her to the launching of her now new business. So Ellah is also an entrepreneur, and she is actually wearing one of her hand-sewn pieces right now. So can you tell us more about Pretty Simple? Pretty Simple is the name of her new business.
I think it has honestly been a very challenging but also a very nice, rewarding in terms of feeling business, because I just kind of got up in the morning, and my mom has always been great at everything that she does with her hands, and I told her, Mom, please help me how to sew. And we kept on postponing it, I think, for like 2 weeks, because you know my mom and how she is.
Yeah.
So she's always busy. But then once I kind of get hang of it, I think I've always been a person who knows how to use their hands very, very well. So anything I wanna and I set my mind to do, I'm able to do it. And that's how I partnered up with a friend of mine who also specializes in jewelry. She also makes her own jewelry. And we just came up with pretty simple. And the name came from another friend of mine also, was just like, hey, the pieces you're making are pretty and they're also simple. And we're like, voila, this is pretty simple. And honestly, it's been great having support from people that are around us. And also just, I think the most challenging thing is walking into an industry, like you said. Trust me, everything in this world is saturated. But if you focus on that, you will never get to start. Because I think the fear of a lot of people starting something is the fact that, oh, but this person already does it, that person already does it. But you cannot focus on that. You just kind of have to almost like put horse blinders on and just focus on your own trail of life and just believe that you'll be the next Gucci, you'll be the next Louis Vuitton of whatever you're doing. And eventually you get there with the hard work, the commitment. And at first, you don't even see the results sometimes of what you're doing. But I think the consistency, I think that's probably the difference of people that open businesses and they eventually just stop. It's because of lack of consistency and just giving up when you feel like nobody is watching. But people are always watching. And people around you can see what you're doing. But they want to see how far can this go? Or is this just another scammy business that somebody else is starting? So it's been very challenging mentally, spiritually, and in every way. But it's I can say it's going pretty well. Yeah.
Well, I'm very proud of you. It's been 2 weeks now.
Yes.
I'm very proud of you, and it just seems like your Instagram is booming. Your website is beautiful, and I'm a model.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you so much for joining me on my channel.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I know a lot of people are gonna wanna ask you even more questions regarding the cruise ship. So where can they find you?
I think I'm always an available person. My Instagram, I'm always open to DMs. I always reply. I think that's probably one of my pet peeves when people don't respond to other people. So I always make sure that I respond to other people. So I'm always open for a chat. I'm always an open book and willing to guide people that how can they go about in their own talents, in their own fields that they have, how can they maximize whatever they are doing, because there is so much more of a world out there. So either they can text you and ask for my number or they can DM me. I am totally open to that.
Okay, I'll leave Ellah's Instagram handle in the description box, and that concludes the interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on the very first episode of Careers 101 with Baratang. There will be plenty more videos to follow with similar themes. Careers 101. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and share with all your friends and families and anyone who might need any information regarding this specific topic. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.